Hey everybody, I'm here with a little Battlefield 3 Armored Kill, which is the new expansion for Battlefield 3 that was just released this week. There are 4 new maps in this expansion, and I'm probably just going to show you a little bit of this one, which is Death Valley, as I play and talk about it. Um, all of the maps are actually pretty good. There's a wintry kind of mountain map. There's a desert map with some like condos and crazy like urban development stuff thrown into it. There's a sort of pastoral Caspian border-ish map that's much larger. And there's this nighttime map, which I think may be in the running right now for my favorite of the 4. I really like the way the lighting and stuff in this game looks at night. Was a big fan of like Tehran Highway from the original vanilla version of the game. I definitely am interested to show off a bit of this map because I think, as I said before, the lighting on this map is pretty amazing. So right now I'm playing as engineer. I've got the surface-to-ground missile equipped and the landmines, so I can potentially take out ground targets and air targets, but of course taking out the ground targets kind of necessitates them driving past wherever I put the mine. Whereas with the air targets, assuming that I can get line of sight on them and they're in my range for any amount of time, I can lock in on them and fire away. Not a very good shot, but I will take it. I really don't like the reticle on this Russian version of the surface-to-air missile. I much prefer the American version where it basically takes up the whole screen and makes it very obvious where the sweet spot is to get tone. But I do appreciate the fact that this doesn't, it lets you see like what's happening in the periphery, but I feel like it's harder to get a decent lock with this one. But I'm sure it's just a matter of practice.
Enemy jet spotted. Over.
See, I feel like I should be getting tone already. Guess nobody was in there, or had already bailed. I know I'd have bailed if it looked like that. But as you can see, Battlefield obviously looking just as spectacular as ever. Um, you know, visuals have never been like the weak point of this game. um, but I guess what I can talk about a little bit is how some of the gameplay has been refined a bit in these newer maps. I mean, I think for a lot of people these are the maps and this is the expansion pack that they've really been waiting for, because when you think about Battlefield and kind of what it's all about, it really is a game that focuses on vehicle combat and like wide open maps. Like, as much as I think they did a decent job on that close quarters expansion they put out recently in terms of like trying to, you know, create that meat grinder Call of Duty-ish type experience. I don't think that's really Battlefield's strong suit or what it really kind of should be doing. Like, I guess it doesn't really bother me that it does that now, but I feel a lot better having seen this expansion and seen these maps and kind of what they're all about. That there's more of like the heritage of the franchise present here than, say, in some of the other stuff we've seen. as usual, finding it very difficult to try to comment and talk at the same time, but you'll have that. Alright, so I'm out of rockets, probably for the best, because otherwise I'm just going to sit here all day and shoot them. So let's move away from this objective, which we clearly have, and perhaps over towards an objective that we do not have. See, my mines are all still here, obviously. Try to keep those lanes at least reasonably blocked up. Oh, hello there. Know what I'm going to actually do versus that armor, except die, but I can at least come over here and try to mark some stuff.
Hostile tank spotted.
What's up, buddy? Sadly, I don't have any mines left to deploy, or I'd totally put some under him. Come on, buddy, drive through that gate. Do it for the video. You want to be famous, you know you do. Damn it. It's kind of a bummer being completely out of ammo for these secondary kind of gadget weapons. It was a very poor shot on my part. Luckily he had his back to me. So as you can see, some of these buildings and such are kind of repurposed from previous maps and versions of the game. Like, it's not all completely new art assets and whatnot. I'm actually kind of glad I died there just so I can get some more rockets and mines and stuff. But they do add quite a lot of new textures. There are a bunch of new vehicles and all the things you would typically expect to be in a new expansion for a game like this. Oh, I should have made more of an effort to get down into that stairwell as soon as I saw that armor there. But oh well. That's one of the biggest problems with the way you have to configure the engineer when you first start playing him, because I actually went pretty much all the way to Colonel in this game playing Assault. So I came to engineer like very late in the game, but obviously with these maps being so vehicle focused, it just kind of makes sense to use the engineer, because you know, if you go with the surface-to-air missile, you can potentially take out air targets. If you go with the mines, you could potentially take out ground targets and still have your SMG or assault rifle to take out infantry. So it's really the most potentially effective combo. I mean, obviously you lose a few things like not being able to revive comrades and whatnot. Here. I hear somebody. Oop, 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 oop. Yeah, I just didn't spot that guy. I knew there was a guy around there. I just couldn't quite figure out where, and actually it was the vehicle that ended up getting me. But I guess the other main thing I wanted to talk about is kind of whether or not I feel like this expansion does anything to address like a lot of the issues that made me stop playing this game in the first place. Because for me, like, you know, there were technical issues here and there, like some things I maybe didn't care for in the way the game was implemented, but overall I thought Battlefield 3 was a pretty solid game. However, there was one kind of major problem with it that really just got under my skin, which was the kind of rampant cheating that was taking place in online multiplayer. And of course, you know, the game being so focused on that aspect, to have, you know, wall hacks and aim bots and all the things that were going on happening so frequently in the game, it just kind of killed it for me to a large extent. And I really feel like this is the first time I've really looked at the game in a while. Who's that guy? Oh, damn it. This is the first time I've really looked at the game in a while, and I feel as though it's definitely improved in that regard. Like, I wouldn't say that I haven't seen anything sketchy since I started playing the other day with this new expansion. There's definitely been a couple times where I thought some of the shots that people made to kill me were kind of like almost superhuman, but that doesn't necessarily mean that anyone was cheating. I might have just, gotten unlucky or put myself in a bad situation or what have you. But I feel like for the most part, these games have felt pretty authentic. Like, the things that have happened have seemed logical and, believable. Like, it didn't feel like I was in a situation where
Hostile jet spotted. Over.
things were happening that didn't make sense. And that was kind of where I was at with the game when I stopped playing it. I just felt like more often than not, everything that was happening was just, just very obviously, blatantly incorrect, be it hacks or lag or whatever. And I feel like, from what I'm seeing here, this is a much better, more polished version of the game. Like, I almost wish that the game had shipped in this state and with this content as part of the kind of original shipping product, because I think the game would have fared a lot better critically and probably would have cultivated a bigger audience and kept it. I kind of worry that even though I think this expansion is actually pretty good, that a lot of people have probably moved on from Battlefield 3 at this point, and I don't know if there's enough here to really keep them interested or draw them back in. If people like me, you maybe got frustrated with the game or annoyed or disappointed with it. On one level, I want to say, this is the version of the game that you've been waiting to play pretty much in the 11 months since it came out. I just wonder how relevant it actually is at this point, with so many other newer games coming out. I mean, I guess that's the thing, right? Like, if you bought Premium and you're looking to get your money's worth out of the game, you're going to be real happy to, consume this content. I feel like this is what a lot of people have been saying that they've been wanting out of Battlefield 3 all along. So I think a lot of people who are still interested in the game will be very happy with this. And I feel like, in some regards, like, this expansion, oddly enough, feels like it justifies the cost of Premium to me, because, like, between this and Close Quarters and the two more expansions that are going to be coming out, I feel like it's just on the verge right now of kind of justifying the purchase price of Premium. So, like, if even one of the next two expansions that are still scheduled is as good as this one, I feel like the Premium expenditure will be, very well justified. Although I have to say, I have noticed, for a brand new expansion coming out for a game this kind of big, there's a surprisingly small number of people playing it, and I don't know if that's just because of the time of year that we're in now, with, like, the looming release of Borderlands 2 and some other kind of high-profile games coming out recently, and people just having their attention divided, or if people are just kind of burnt out on Battlefield 3. But I was surprised, when I looked and saw how many servers were running the new expansion and how many of them had, like, 0 people on them. Especially for, like, 1 or 2 days after it being released. You would think it would have been a lot more popular than it seems to be. So I guess one thing that's really worth pointing out is that the engine itself, like the core Battlefield game engine, seems to be running a lot faster than it used to be. Like, keep in mind here, I'm running Fraps to capture this video in real time, so you know, I'm easily maintaining like, 45 to 60 frames a second even while recording this, which definitely would not have been the case on this machine, say the last time that I played Battlefield before the expansion came out. Like, I'd say there's maybe like a 20 to 30% performance increase in the game engine from what I can see based off of my last play session as a basis for comparison. Now, some of that might be graphics driver updates. There've certainly been a few NVIDIA driver updates since then, but I kind of have to imagine that at least some of this performance increase is down to optimizations to the game engine, and that's probably just something they had to do to make these maps larger. These are definitely some of the largest Battlefield maps that I've seen. They may well be the largest in any game in the series. But saw a guy there. Where'd he go? I hate it when you catch a glimpse of a guy and then there's like an explosion or a smoke cloud or something, you completely lose track of him. Like I should have had. That guy maybe should have tossed a grenade down there or something. But again, like super hard to play this effectively and talk about it at the same time, as I'm sure you can imagine. How's our team doing? We're actually doing okay. We just need to kind of keep it going here. Got a decent spread of mines there. I think I'm going to go drop another one over in this lane here. I think you can have 5 down at a time before you start picking them up again. Or actually, no, that's right. You just put them all down now. That was Bad Company 2 or some other version of the game where like it would, if you put down a bunch of mines and then you got to the point where you didn't have any more. Oop. Should have been paying attention to what was in front of me. You would just keep replacing them. Whereas in this, more realistic version of things, it just gives you an amount that you get to deploy, and then you're kind of done. Let's see what we can do with our squad mate here. Maybe I can actually kill somebody instead of just babbling. I feel like, as with all versions of Battlefield, like the amount of fun that you have and the degree to which you're effective really depends so much on the people that you're playing with. Oh man, that was probably not the best place for me to stand to try to scope out that aircraft. I think that's like the biggest problem I'm having with Engineer, because I haven't played a lot of it, is trying to make that discretion between when I should be looking at vehicles and when I should be watching out for infantry. Because I feel like a lot of the times I'll be looking at the sky, kind of scoping for jets and whatnot, trying to take a shot at those, and then I'll miss the guy on the ground right in front of me, or vice versa. I get so caught up in what's happening in the infantry game that I forget that I have a missile launcher that can shoot planes. So it's kind of a weird balancing act, and also thinking about like where you should be when you try to do the various things, like obviously trying to get into cover and use that to your advantage. Whenever you're doing this stuff is ideal. Doesn't look like anything's actually in range. I was gonna say I should try to actually shoot at some of those guys, but those aircraft are a bit out of my range, so I won't even be able to get a tone. Oh wait. Yeah, that's never gonna hit, but I should have arced it up a bit more. If I'd have given it more height, I might have been able to have it come down on his melon, so to speak. Just didn't clear the buildings and stuff before it went to target him. Try to dump a couple more mines on the road down here. This seems like a pretty well-traveled spot, so maybe when they come to go around this corner to go try to get that flag, somebody will hit that. And now I can stop worrying about planting mines, at least until I die again or get resupplied. I think that's what it is, right? Having like 3 different things to concern yourself with, you know, from the point where you spawn definitely makes it easy to choose to do the wrong thing at any given moment. Whereas like when you're down to, okay, I'm just worried about shooting planes or shooting dudes, that makes it a little easier. So I guess like getting the mines down is kind of a good way to go. Oh, come on. Now I feel like I should have tone on that guy already. Come on. Oh my god, he's so big. How can I not be locking in on that? Seriously, game. Give me a break. And of course this whole time I'm not paying attention to anything that's happening around me, so of course I'm going to be shot. But that's just ridiculous. That should not... Like when the enemy plane is almost filling up the reticle, you should be getting a lock. I'm sorry. Yeah, I find a lot of times in this game, like, my best bet is just to try to run around and draw fire and then get to cover, because then I at least can try to figure out where the fire was coming from. Like, a lot of times, I'll be taking fire from people on these wide open maps and not even have a good sense of where it's coming from. So being able to, like, get into a situation like that where you at least have cover on 3 sides and can judge effectively where that fire was even coming from, I think helps a lot sometimes. Like, there's nothing worse in Battlefield than getting like caught out in the open and shot, and then you don't even realize like where the shot came from half the time. Oh, that was bad. So yeah, I think that's pretty much about all I have to say about this expansion. I mean, you know, to a large extent, it's Battlefield. It's more Battlefield. If you like Battlefield, you're probably going to like it even more as a result of this. If you weren't already a Battlefield fan, you know, this is probably not going to win you over. But I will say maybe like if you were disappointed in Battlefield kind of as it shipped, or like the, you know, the recent Close Quarters expansion, if you kind of felt like maybe that wasn't real Battlefield, quote unquote, I feel like this feels a lot more authentic to the series, you know, kind of like I said before. You know, this feels like a Battlefield game, just by virtue of the scale of the maps and what you're doing. It just feels like what you would expect from the series, more so than, say, the Close Quarters expansion did. But, you know, at least I'm doing something. I'm not being completely ineffective. But I definitely feel like I should probably stop recording just so I can actually try to help my team win this game, because we're still in pretty decent shape, but if we're not careful, we could end up dropping this round easily to the enemy. So I think I'm going to cut it there for now and see how this turns out, and maybe depending on how you guys like this video, I can show some of the other maps later. But until next time, the opposite of peace.